as if the tongues of fire had voiced it. Forehead to forehead I meet thee, this third time, Moby Dick. On deck there! Brace sharper up! Crowd her into the wind's eye! He's too far off to lower yet, Mr. Starbuck. The sails shake. Stand over that helmsman with a topmaul. So, he travels fast, and I must down. But let me have one more good round look aloft here at the sea.
His last
looks. For that. An old sight, and yet somehow so young. Aye, and not changed a wink since I first saw it, a boy, from the sandhills of Nantucket. The same to Noah as to me. There's a soft shower to leeward. Such lovely leewardings. They must lead somewhere, to something else than common land, more palmy than the palms. Leeward, the white whale goes that way. Look to windward, then, the better of the bitterer quarter. But goodbye, old masthead.
He knows it's done. He knows it's over.
What's this? Green? Aye, tiny mosses in these warped cracks. No such green weather stains on Ahab's head.
Top of page 347.
There's the difference now between man's old age and matters. But I, old mast, we both grow old together. Sound in our hulls, though, are we not, my ship? Aye, minus a leg, that's all. By heaven, this dead wood has the better of my live flesh every way. I can't compare with it. And I've known some ships made of dead trees outlast the lives of men, made of the most vital stuff of vital fathers. What's that, he said? He should still go before me, my pilot, and yet to be seen again. But where? Will I have eyes at the bottom of the sea, supposing I descend those endless stairs? And all night I've been sailing from him, wherever he did sink to. Aye, like many more, thou toldest direful truth as touching myself, O Parsi. But Ahab, there thy shot fell short. Goodbye, masthead. Keep a good eye upon the whale, but while I'm gone, we'll talk tomorrow. Nay, tonight, when the white whale lies down there, tied by head and tail.
So he speaks to his ship for the last time. Earlier in the novel, Ahab has asked that a basket be constructed so that he can sit in it and be pulled up to the very top of that mast sail, so that allows him to be hundreds of feet up off the floor, and he can look out over the ocean and try and see Moby Dick. So he's up there and he looks down at his ship for the last time. These are last words. Ahab, once he gets in the boat and goes after Moby Dick, he won't come back. He'll be gone. And he says something interesting. He says, it's kind of like, I feel kind of like Noah. Another famous reference to the Bible. Here this time, Noah, the man who builds the large ship and sails through the flood, you all remember, right? Ahab saying about this moment that it's interesting, ships sometimes outlive men, even though ships are made of dead wood. In the end, of course, his final goodbye here is prophetic, right? It is a bit of foreshadowing, right? All right, here we go. The meeting now.
He gave the word, and still gazing round him, was steadily lowered through the cloven blue air to the deck. In due time the boats were lowered, but as standing in his shallop's stern, Ahab just hovered upon the point of the descent, he waved to the mate, who held one of the tackle ropes on deck, and bade him pause. Starbuck? Sir? For the third time my soul ship starts upon this voyage, Starbuck. Aye, sir, thou wilt have it so. Some ships sail from their ports, and ever afterwards a missing, Starbuck. Truth, sir, saddest truth. Some men die at ebb tide, some at low water, some at the full of the flood, and I feel now like a billow that's all one crested cone. Starbuck, I am old. Shake hands with me, man. Their hands met, their eyes fastened. Starbuck's tears the glue. Oh, my captain, noble heart, not. See, it's a brave man that weeps. How great the agony of the persuasion then. Lower away!
So Starbuck says to him in a final moment when he's shaking his hand, dude, you do not have to do this. You do not have to go down into that boat, and then they're going to row that smaller boat out, and they're going to wait for that whale to come up, and they're going to try and harpoon that whale and kill him. And Starbuck says, you don't have to do this. But we kind of already recognized that when we said that Ahab was obsessed, we know that he kind of does have to do this. He has decided long ago that this is the way he will die or triumph. So here he goes, off to fight the great white whale.
Cried Ahab, tossing the mate's arm from him. Stand by the crew! In an instant, the boat was pulling round close under the stern. The sharks! The sharks! Cried a voice from the low cabin window there. Oh, master, my master, come back! But Ahab heard nothing, for his own voice was high lifted then, and the boat leaped on. Yet the voice spake true, for scarce had he pushed from the ship, when numbers of sharks, seemingly rising from out the dark waters beneath the hull, maliciously snapped at the blades of the oars every time they dipped in the water, and in this way accompanied the boat with their bites. It is a thing not uncommonly happening to the whaleboats in those swarming seas, the sharks at times apparently following them in the same prescient way that vultures hover over the banners of marching regiments in the east. But these were the first sharks that had been observed by the Pequod since the white whale had been first descried.
Now, I like to just point out, because one of the reasons why we learn how to read is so we can learn stuff we didn't know before. It didn't really occur to us. If you go out on the ocean and your job is to hunt for whales, and the only way you're going to hunt for these whales is to get out of the big ship into a small rowboat and then row out to where the whale is. There are other things that live in the ocean other than whales. And of course, I mentioned Steve Spielberg's film Jaws already. There are sharks. These sharks will often follow the whaling ships. Of course, they're looking for any kind of possible things to eat, right? But once your rowboat gets turned over, falling into the water, your biggest challenge isn't just not drowning. Your biggest challenge is there can be hundreds or thousands of sharks waiting that are going to eat you once you fall out of the boat. You might jot down really quickly just the courage that it takes to have been on one of these whaling ships, to be one of these harpooners or sailors, right? These were really, really brave people.
And whether it was that Ahab's crew were all such tiger-yellow barbarians, and therefore their flesh more musky to the senses of the sharks, a matter sometimes well known to affect them, however it was, they seemed to follow that one boat without molesting the others. Heart of wrought steel, murmured Starbuck, gazing over the side and following with his eyes the receding boat. Canst thou yet ring boldly to that sight, lowering thy keel among ravening sharks, and followed by them, open-mouthed to the chase? And this the critical third day? For when 3 days flow together in one continuous intense pursuit, be sure the first is the morning, the second the noon, and the third the evening, and the end of that thing, be that end what it may. Oh my God, what is this that shoots through me and leaves me so deadly calm, yet expectant, fixed at the top of a shutter? Future things swim before me.
Let's point out that if we have our soliloquy, our last thoughts from Ahab, we're now getting our last thoughts from Starbuck. Starbuck's last thoughts are full of foreshadowing and gloom. He says, I can't believe it. 3 days. Of course, for those of us that know anything about numbers and literature, we know that 3, that Trinity, is always significant. He says any experience that requires 3 days. The first day is the morning, the second day is the noon, the third day is the evening, and things, he says, probably aren't going to end very well for Ahab or for us. Already Starbuck is realizing not only will Ahab take his own self down, But he is in the process going to kill all of them. And it's true. All of them will be gone except for the narrator Ishmael before this is done.
As in empty outlines and skeletons, all the past has somehow grown dim. Mary, girl, thou fadest in pale glories behind me. Boy, I seem to see but thy eyes grown wondrous blue.
His wife and son.
Strangest
He's saying goodbye to them.
seem clearing, but clouds sweep between. Is my journey's end coming? My legs feel faint, like his who was footed it all day. Feel thy heart. Beats it yet? Stir thyself, Starbuck. Stave it off. Move, move. Speak aloud. Masthead there. See ye my boy's hand on the hill? Crazed. Aloft there. Keep thy keenest eye upon the boats. Mark well the whale. Oh, again. Drive off that hawk. See, he pecks. He tears the vane. Pointing to the red flag flying at the main truck. Ah, he soars away with it. Where's the old man now? Seest thou that sight, O Ahab? Shudder, shudder. The boats had not gone very far, when by a signal from the mastheads, a downward pointed arm, Ahab knew that the whale had sounded, but intending to be near him at the next rising, he held on his way a little sideways from the vessel. But the charmed crew maintaining the profoundest silence as the head-beat waves hammered and hammered against the opposing bow.
Top of page 349.
Drive in your nails, O ye waves, to their uttermost heads drive them in. Ye but strike a thing without a lid, and no coffin and no hearse can be mine, and hemp only can kill me. Ha! Ha! Suddenly the waters around them slowly swelled in broad circles, then quickly upheaved, as if sideways sliding from a submerged berg of ice, swiftly rising to the surface. A low rumbling sound was heard, a subterraneous hum, and then all held their breaths, as, bedraggled with trailing ropes and harpoons and lances, a vast form shot lengthwise but obliquely from the sea. Shrouded in a thin, drooping veil of mist, it hovered for a moment in the rainbowed air, and then fell swamping back into the deep. Crushed 30 feet upwards, the waters flashed for an instant like heaps of fountains, then brokenly sank in a shower of flakes, leaving the circling surface creamed like new milk round the marble trunk of the whale. "Give way!" cried Ahab to the oarsmen, and the boats darted forward to the attack. But maddened by yesterday's fresh irons that corroded in him, Moby Dick seemed combinedly possessed by all the angels that fell from heaven. The wide tiers of welded tendons overspreading his broad white forehead beneath the transparent skin looked knitted together as head-on he came churning his tail among the boats, and once more flailed them apart, spilling out the irons and lances from the two mates' boats and dashing in one side at the upper part of their bows, but leaving Ahab's almost without a scar. While Daggoo and Queequeg were stopping the strained planks, and as the whale swimming out from them turned and showed one entire flank as he shot by them again. At that moment, a quick cry went up, lashed round and round to the fish's back, pinioned in the turns upon turns in which, during the past night, the whale had reeled the involutions of the lines around him. The half-torn body of the Parsee was seen, his sable raiment frayed to shreds, his distended eyes turned full upon old Ahab. The harpoon dropped from his hand. Befooled! Befooled! Drawing in a long, lean breath. Aye, Parsee, I see thee again. Aye, and thou goest before. And this, then, is the hearse that thou didst promise. But I hold thee to the last letter of thy word. Where is the second hearse? Away, mates, to the ship. Those boats are useless now. Repair them, if ye can, in time, and return to me. If not, Ahab is enough to die. Down, men! The first thing that but offers to jump from this boat I stand in, that thing I harpoon. You're not other men, but my arms and my legs, and so obey me. Where's the whale? Gone down again? But he looked too nigh the boat, for as if bent upon escaping with the corpse he bore, and as if the particular place of the last encounter had been but a stage in his leeward voyage, Moby Dick was now again steadily swimming forward, and had almost passed the ship, which thus far had been sailing in the contrary direction to him.
Top of page 350.
Though for the present her headway had been stopped. He seemed swimming with his utmost velocity, and now only intent upon pursuing his own straight path in the sea. "Oh, Ahab!" cried Starbuck. "Not too late, is it? Even now, the third day, to desist. See, Moby Dick seeks thee not. It is thou that madly seekest him." Setting sail to the rising wind, the lonely boat was swiftly impelled to leeward by both oars and canvas. And at last, when Ahab was sliding by the vessel, so near as plainly to distinguish Starbuck's face as he leaned over the rail, he hailed him to turn the vessel about and follow him, not too swiftly, at a judicious interval. Glancing upwards, he saw Tashtego, Queequeg, and Daggoo eagerly mounting to the three mastheads, while the oarsmen were rocking in the two staved boats which had just been hoisted to the side, and were busily at work in repairing them, one after the other. Through the portholes as he sped, he also caught flying glimpses of Stubb and Flask, busying themselves on the deck among bundles of new irons and lances. As he saw all this, as he heard the hammers in the broken boats, far other hammers seemed driving a nail into his heart.
He can't let go of it.
But he rallied, and now marking that the vane or flag was gone from the main masthead, he shouted to Tashtego, who had just gained that perch, to descend again for another flag and a hammer and nails, and so nail it to the mast. Whether fagged by the 3 days' running chase and the resistance to his swimming in the knotted hamper he bore, or whether it was some latent deceitfulness and malice in him, whichever was true, the white whale's way now began to abate, as it seemed, from the boat so rapidly nearing him once more. Though indeed the whale's last start had not been so long a one as before. And still, as Ahab glided over the waves, the unpitying sharks accompanied him, and so pertinaciously stuck to the boat, and so continually bit at the plying oars, that the blades became jagged and crunched, and left small splinters in the sea at almost every dip. "Heed them not, those teeth, but give new rowlocks to your oars. Pull on! 'Tis the better rest, the shark's jaw than the yielding water. But at every bite, sir, the thin blades grow smaller and smaller. They will last long enough. Pull on!" "But who can tell," he muttered, "whether these sharks swim to feast on the whale or on Ahab?"
Right, he realizes
"But
it.
pull on. Aye, all alive now. We near him. The helm, take the helm. Let me pass." And so saying, two of the oarsmen helped him forward to the bows of the still flying boat. At length, as the craft was cast to one side, and ran ranging along with the white whale's flank, he seemed strangely oblivious of its advance, as the whale sometimes will, and Ahab was fairly within the smoky mountain mist, which, thrown off from the whale's spout, curled round his great Monadnock hump.
So here we are at the very moment when the two forces of nature, we might say, are about to meet. When we return, we're going to study the very final moment and the way in which Moby Dick and Ahab have their final come together. Thank you.